Alex, are we presenting?
I'm not presenting right now, but yeah.
No, I mean, like, are we? Sorry, did we post about it in the?
Yeah, I think we're checking on that right now. I think the role.
Okay. I didn't post it.
Okay, I posted another one again, giving the right link.
How will we record this? Are we able to record it? Oh, perfect. Okay, perfect.
Okay, there we go. Cool.
You could just go. So we're just going to wait a few more minutes before we get started. And if you would prefer to watch the stream, if you don't care about interacting and asking questions, there's a stream on YouTube right now, which is basically how we're going to have the workshop recorded. So you're welcome to watch that instead if you want. Otherwise, you can stay here and you're able to ask questions and stuff like that. Okay, so I think we're ready to get going. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to type them in the chat, or you can just like turn on your mic and interrupt me. Otherwise, you can type them in the chat and one of my fellow committee members will interrupt me and ask me the question, just because I won't really be able to monitor the chat while I'm going back and forth. So let's get started. Alex, are you able to keep letting people in? Do you get the ping for that?
Yes, I am. So you can go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
A couple requests coming in here and there.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Katie Young, and I'm going to be hosting the workshop today for beginners, the React workshop for beginners. Basically, we're going to be creating a really basic portfolio in React, obviously. So first, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. I am a U3 student at McGill Engineering in software engineering. I am also part of the CodeJam committee. This semester, I am working at Ubisoft as a web development intern, and 95% of what I do is working on a React application. So that's why I'm the presenter today. So it was really important to us to have a workshop for beginners, since we know that hackathons, specifically when you come to a hackathon and you don't know what to build or to create, can be really overwhelming to people who are new to hackathons. Therefore, this workshop. So anyone who participates in this workshop is eligible for a special prize category. So if you submit this portfolio that we build, or hopefully some variation of it, hopefully put a bit more time into it and make something really unique and special, specific to you, and submit it to the beginner portfolio website. And we're going to pick one winner from all the people who submit, and that winner will receive a special prize of $100, which is pretty nice. We did this kind of to encourage people submitting something. It can be really difficult to come to a hackathon, and if you don't know what to do and you keep going to workshops, it gets to Saturday, you're still not sure what to do. This is kind of a fallback option if you just want to submit something and you just kind of want to be proud of yourself because you were able to submit something. A portfolio website is a really great hack, and it's also extremely useful because at the end of this, we're going to show you how to post it to GitHub pages and actually have a portfolio website out there, which is something that companies are always looking for. So that is a little introduction. So as I mentioned before, this workshop is a very basic introduction to web development with React. If you are familiar with React or even JavaScript and HTML, CSS, this might be a little basic for you. You might not be extremely engaged. So feel free to log out anytime. No offense taken, I promise. So we're going to be creating a portfolio using the React framework. First, we're going to set up our project in Workspace. And I'm going to go a bit slower over this than you might expect, just because I know I've been to workshops in the past where they kind of blaze through the project and Workspace setup, and you fall behind, and then it's really difficult to catch back up. In the meantime, we're going to talk a little bit about what is React and why it's special, basically why it's becoming more and more popular. And we're going to do a little bit overview of what is a React component and why are they important. And then we're going to focus on using CSS with React. So first is the project setup. Feel free to screenshot this because I'm going to be moving on maybe before everything is finished. You need to install a few things to work on the portfolio. First thing, if you don't have a projects folder, you should probably create a projects folder in the root directory of your home. So personally, mine is under users and then my name. And I created a project folder there where I keep all the stuff that I'm working on. This is a really good idea, especially for hackathons and workshops. It really keeps all your stuff in one place. The very first thing we're going to need to do is create install Node Js and Npm. So I'm going to open up my terminal, my Git bash terminal, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So right now I'm in my root folder, and I'm going to cd into my projects. There we go. Now I'm in my projects folder, and I have a couple projects in here. The one I'm going to be working on today is my portfolio. So the very first thing you want to do is make sure that you have Node Js and Npm installed. Oops. The way that you can check if you already have this installed is to go node-v, and it will tell you your node version, and you can go npm-v, and it will tell you your npm version. I have both installed already. If you get some kind of error, then you know that you don't have it installed, and we're going to go to nodejs.org, and we are going to install it. It automatically recognizes my OS. Hopefully it does for yours as well. And you can just click this one and start the download. Then we're going to have to wait for that to finish before we can move on to the second part of our project setup, which is basically installing React. But once you have everything installed, we're going to be able to go npm install React. And the npm, which is the automatic package manager for Node.js, is going to install all the packages that are related to React that allow us to use commands like create React app, which we're going to be using later. As you can see, it updated one package. I already have React installed, so it didn't have to do the thousands of packages that it normally has to do. So it's probably going to take a bit longer for anyone who doesn't have React installed. And then after that, we're going to run this command, create React app, my portfolio. So I already have one called my portfolio, so it obviously won't work. So I'm going to have to call it something else. Sure, yeah. So if you have your terminal open and you're in your root directory here, you can do ls to take a look at all of your folders. This is assuming that you're using git bash. The commands will be a bit different if you're not using git bash. So ls shows you all of your folders that exist. And if you want to create a new folder, you just go mkdir, which stands for make directory. And then whatever you want to call your directory. So I'll call mine projects and ls. And now we see that it added a projects2 folder. So we can do cd, which is change directory, into projects. And I'm in my empty folder. And that's where you can run all these commands that I was talking about before. So I'm just going to go back. cd ... brings you up to your parent directory. And I'm going to go into my projects again. And I'm going to move on, talk a bit more about React. Like I said, you should probably screenshot this just in case you fall behind or get lost. And it's also at the bottom here on the next slide, just in case you forget what you're supposed to be doing. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. For anyone who doesn't know, that's basically referring to git bash. We're going to talk a little bit about what is React. React is a JavaScript-based web development framework. There's a lot of web development frameworks out there, and they're constantly changing. Most of them these days are based in JavaScript. They use HTML and CSS as is necessary for web development, and then most of them use JavaScript these days. Some other popular ones are Vue.js, and that's all I can think of at the moment. Vue.js and React.js are the big ones right now. And what is a web development framework? It's essentially a specific way of developing a project, which will allow you to use certain tools and resources that other people have developed. React is a really big one right now, which means that there's a lot of tools and resources that are super useful out there, which is, I think, why a lot of web development is trending towards React. Another important thing to know about React is that it's centered around components. I'm going to talk a bit more about components later, but what you basically need to know is that components are a bit like custom HTML elements. They have their own properties, and you can define its own specific behavior. But like I said, we'll talk a bit more about that in the next couple of slides. Next is, why do people use React? It's extremely simple and really flexible, which I think is usually what's hailed as the two biggest perks of React. So it's very easy for people who are just learning to pick up and understand. It's also easy to read someone else's code that's written in React, someone else's website, and understand what's happening. It's also really simple to find bugs because a lot of the time you're able to track down which component the bug is coming from, and it really limits the scope of your bug finding activities. Additionally, there's lots of useful tools and libraries out there. Like I was saying before, it's definitely only getting more popular, which means the tools and libraries available are only increasing and getting better. Fun fact is that it was originally best used for single-page websites, but now it's pretty much suitable for most web pages out there. Lots of famous web pages use it. Lots of very popular web pages use it. For example, Facebook and Instagram, as well as Airbnb and I think Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. So now we're going to move on to Workspace Setup. But first, I just want to ask if anyone had any questions or problems setting up the project. If you did, I don't mind going back, running through all the steps again. Okay. Oh, sounds good. Perfect. Okay, so the command not found create React app is probably because I'm not sure if you correctly installed React in the first place. So just make sure you ran the Npm Install React command first, and make sure you got some kind of success message, or I don't know exactly what they tell you, but some kind of message that it was installed properly. And then after that, you should be able to run create React app. Oh, okay. So someone says they had to run bash as an admin for Npm Install React to work. Personally, I don't have that issue, but it might just be where my directory is versus where your directory is. And to run bash as an admin, you can go to the directory. I don't know if people are on Windows or people are not on Windows, but you can go here, you can left click, and you can get bash here. No. I'm actually not sure how to run git bash as an admin. I know how to run Windows PowerShell as an admin, but hopefully it's not too difficult to figure out. If you're stuck, you can probably just Google it. Is anyone else stuck? Oh, if you already have a projects folder React, a folder projects, you can use the command cd, which stands for change directory, and then you do change directory projects, and it will bring you into your projects directory, and you can run your codes there. Running commands with sudo probably comes down to using a different OS. I think sudo might be Mac, if I'm not mistaken. I'm so bad with OSs, but I know sudo is definitely a command. Sure, I'll just go back really quickly over the steps. Oops.
I have a question. So this is like a React programming session?
Yes.
Okay. And this is for which project? Like which challenge?
It's actually got its own specific challenge. However, React in general, you can pretty much use it if you have an idea in mind. It can be used to develop any kind of web front end. So I don't know what kind of challenge you had in mind, but it can be useful towards other challenges. However, this specific workshop, we're just going to be looking at building a portfolio website, which you can submit to a special category to win $100.
Oh, so we can create any kind of project we want? Is it that?
Yeah, so you can create any kind of project at the hackathon that you want, and it just depends on which project you create, depends on which categories you want to apply to. So creating a portfolio, you can apply, you will like obviously automatically apply to the top 3 prizes, and you'll probably be applied to the subcategory prizes as well. However, specifically the category that you're probably most likely to win in would be the category of portfolio workshop, like I mentioned.
Okay, thank you very much. That's useful.
Install React app, it says, warn a bunch of times, no such file directory. Just make sure that you have Node JS installed. Other than that, I sometimes weird things happen and stuff does not install correctly, and it just takes a bunch of Googling to figure out what it is, but it's probably a pretty specific problem. Has anyone been successful in installing it and following the steps? Okay, that makes me feel better. Create React app says command not found. Okay. Yes, I'll run through again. Good. Thank you. So the very first thing that we have to do is install Node Js and Npm at nodejs.org. So I pulled that up. It's super easy. It'll give you an installer. Then to check if you have it installed or not, you can run node -v, and it should give you a message like this. And you can also run npm-v, and it will give you another little message like that. So anyone who's having trouble, make sure that you have Node and Npm installed by using this. Next command we're going to run is Npm Install React. And I'll just like hover there for a bit while people can double check the spelling, I guess, maybe, I don't know. And it should install it correctly. However, sometimes it doesn't. That's pretty common. It doesn't always work as you want it to work. Like I mentioned before, you might have to Google your specific issues. The warnings are not usually a big deal. If it warns, sometimes that's normal. As long as it says at the bottom, installed, X packages and audited, blah, blah, blah. And then after this, we're going to do create React app. And I'm going to call it my portfolio. And it should say creating a new React app, and it will automatically make you a directory and install the packages that you need. Usually it takes a couple minutes for that to work properly. This isn't Git Bash. It should work in command prompt as well. However, there's going to be slightly different commands to change directories. The npm and the Node.js commands will be the same, but it might be different for you to change directories and move around. Yeah, the command to create the React app, is just create React app, create -react-app, and then you need a space, and you can quote it or you can probably leave it unquoted and just type the name of the project you want to create. You don't need the quote, no. I think the quote is just insurance. If you're ever unsure, you can try adding quotes. The folder that you're going to get from that is going to look like this. It should look like this. It's important to have the source directory, the node modules. Not necessarily the Git. It depends if you have Git installed on your computer. You might not have the Git or the Git ignore, but you should have the README, the package lock, the package, and then these directories. So if anyone has any other questions, otherwise I'll move on. It really sucks, but I'm happy to help anyone after the workshop if they're having some specific issues. But unfortunately, we can't go over everyone's problem, which really sucks because I hate getting lost at the beginning of a workshop. It's the worst thing ever. I'm so thankful for the people in the chat suggesting all these things. It's so hard to know like what exactly problems people are gonna, literal MVPs, what problems people are gonna face. And it's so long since I did this for the first time that I don't even remember all the problems. Like once you get it going the first time, I feel after that it's so much easier to just create React app, but yeah, exactly. You can test if it works by running npm start, and you should get, I'll show you guys here. You can have the cd, like change directory to your project's directory, which I call mine my portfolio 2. Yeah, and now we do npm start. Takes a minute, but it should look like this when you're done. This is just the standard little UI that they give for anyone who uses Create React app. Okay, if it's still installing, we'll take a little second. And we will, I forget, I think, where was I? Just, why do people use React? But yeah, I pretty much already talked about that. It's super useful, and there's a lot of really important tools and libraries out there that you can use. I'm just going to move on to Workspace Setup. This one should be a lot more straightforward. The first thing we need is a text editor. So if you have a text editor that you're familiar with, like Atom or a different one, then by all means use it. But if you want to follow along exactly what I'm doing, you need Visual Studio Code. That's personally my favorite. I'm just really familiar with it, and I think it's got everything that I need. So you can just Google Visual Studio Code download. And you click the first one that pops up, and you select the one that's like appropriate for your OS. And the next thing that we are doing is installing the React developers Chrome extension. So we go to the Google Chrome extension store. And when we're here, we do React developers. And it's the first one that pops up with this little icon there. And I already have it installed, so I won't remove it, but it should click Add to Chrome, the little button that says Add to Chrome. And you just click that. Those two should be both very, very quick to install. I'll just wait a couple of minutes though and make sure everyone's done. Oh, perfect. Thank you. That's smart. And next, I'm going to talk about React components. Like I mentioned before, React components are similar to custom HTML elements. Hopefully you guys know what an HTML element is, but if you don't, I like to think of it as just like a little object, an HTML object. So it can be anything from a header to a button to a block of text. And a React component is basically just a kind of, in a way, a grouping of these basic HTML elements that you can give specific properties and behavior to. And if anyone's taken a beginner's computer science course, you know what the word abstraction means, which basically like using a method, using a helper method is an example of abstraction. And basically it just lets you take out the code that you reuse over and over and put it somewhere else to keep reusing it, which is basically like what a React component does as well. It can help you have cleaner code and help you repeat code less often. It also really makes React faster at loading and reloading pages. React is really smart, and it knows which components have changed since the last time it rendered, and it can re-render only that component, which saves a lot of work re-rendering the entire website, especially if your website is like really big. Another cool thing is you don't, I don't think. Plugins make it easier, but you should not need any plugins. Nice. And then, another thing about React components is that they can be injected with CSS at the component level. If anyone's worked with web development before, you know CSS can be like a real headache, but it's a bit easier when you only have to deal with the CSS of a very specific section of the website, which is kind of like how you can think of a component. And also if you're having CSS errors, like something is not working or looking the way it should be looking, it's a lot easier to find the CSS file associated with the component and try and look for the bug in that file, as opposed to looking through your entire like big file of CSS and trying to find where the conflicts are coming from. And then the last part of our project is going to be hosting the portfolio. We're going to host it using GitHub Pages, just because that's the one I'm familiar with, and that's what I feel is the most basic solution. So if you haven't, you're going to have to install Git. I'll post this in the chat. And you're going to also need a GitHub account, which you can make at github.com. Hopefully most people, if you don't have a GitHub account, it's definitely a good idea to make one. It makes it super simple for, well, one, it gives you a place to put your projects so that companies can look at it when you hand in your CV. And two, it's also really great for working on stuff together as a team, like a group project. So we're going to be doing that at the end. So you'll have like all workshop to get your Git figured out. And yeah, create an account on GitHub. Whoops. And click here. And thank you for listening to the little information section and setup. And now I'm going to be showing you how to actually create one. So basically what I'm going to be doing for this workshop is I've already created a little portfolio, which I'll show you guys now. This is my little portfolio. She's just for my demo. This is basically my CV here, super basic. And then I have a little project section with all my different projects. If you go to McGill, you'll be familiar. If you're in software engineering, these are all my class projects. And there's some little icons that link to my different accounts. So my LinkedIn and my GitHub, as well as this little mail icon that will send me an email. So this is basically what I'm going to be showing you guys how I made this one, and then hopefully along the way I'll be teaching you enough kind of building blocks that you can take and build something either similar, like resembling this, but a bit different, like with more customization, or something totally different, but using the same principles that we learned. So let me just get sorted out here. I believe I am already in the correct directory that I wanted to use. Yes, I think I'm in. I'll just double check. So what we're going to do is File, and we're going to do Open Folder. And we're going to go to find our projects, find the one we just created, whatever you named it, either My Portfolio, My App, anything like that. And then we're going to click on that. Actually, no, we're going to double click on that, and then we're going to click the source folder, and we're going to select that folder to work in, because you don't really ever need to change anything in the Node modules. The Node modules are changed when you run npm install. So if you ever want to update your project and the dependencies of your project, you have to run npm install, and it will automatically install your Node modules for you. But we won't be touching that. I definitely would not feel confident touching that. So we're just going to be doing it as is. So basically, this is the what they start you off with. And as you can see, it pretty much corresponds, like it directly corresponds to the app here. A link to learn React, this little header, and this little logo that they give you pre-installed. So we're going to be keeping a lot the same, but we're going to have to be deleting some as well, because we don't want our website to look like the one that they provided. So the first thing we're going to do is delete everything in the div called class name. So don't delete this, just delete everything that's in between. And now when we actually, you know what? Sorry, no, you know what? It's fine. We're Control Save, and it should automatically. Nope. Okay, that's my bad. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to click the terminal button, and I'm going to click New Terminal. And this basically just opens your terminal, or like essentially your Git Bash equivalent within Visual Studio Code, and we're able to run npm install. Not install, sorry, npm start. And that's going to start our website up again. And I have something running on the port, so that's fine. I'm going to click yes. What I accidentally did was I ran my portfolio 2 on this port, and I never closed it. So that's what's happening there. So I cancel, I'll close that, and I'll shut this tab. So it's taking a hot minute. Actually, no, you know what? It's not taking a hot minute. That's what it looks like now. We've changed everything. So we've deleted all the background stuff, and this is what we're left with. So we'll go back here. And the very first thing we want to do is add a header. And when you're doing your HTML elements, usually it's lowercase. Unless you're importing it from somewhere, it's lowercase. So my Visual Studio Code automatically completes it. I don't know if that's normal or not, if maybe that's a plugin that I have, but header, and then if you write, for this, I write my name in between, because that is my title. And I'm also going to give it a class name, which is very standard to do, because it makes it a lot easier when you're dealing with the CSS if you're able to assign a class name. In HTML is basically a way to refer to a group of elements. So I'm going to call this title. And then when I write my CSS here, to refer to that element, I just do dot title. and I can change whatever I want to change for it. So I'll probably do text. No, not text, it's font. Font family, and I like mono space. So now when I open my browser page again, the way that npm start works is that it automatically refreshes your browser every time you save your project. So when I flip back to my thing, there we go. It has a header. Perfect. Now, the next thing that I do is I want my header a bit bigger, so I'll go here and I'll do font size, and I will do large. You can also specify it in pixels if you're familiar with like, yeah, so I want it even bigger than that. So I'm going to be doing font size of, I don't know, 35 pixels. There we go. That's good for now. And we're going to go back here. And we are going to write a short little description. It's not description, it's a p tag, which stands for paragraph, I believe. I could be totally wrong. And then I'm just going to write any kind of random little description about myself. I think I said I am a.
Kitty cat, boomer.
Ooh, echo. No. I think he found it. Oh, where was it? Okay, I see. It should be whenever I created mine, I usually create it under users. Double click that, and it should just be in here under my name and users. But it depends where you created it originally. If you still have this open, you can check this path here. And look, you here, again, the same as I was saying, and projects and my portfolio. And don't select that one because it's so much unnecessary. Select the source folder. Bam. Okay. This is my p tag, and like I said before, we probably want to add a class name because that allows us to specify this specific p tag. You can also add an ID if you know that you want to only refer to this specific p tag. However, if you want to refer to several groups of things, like a group of p tags, you can just use a class name. So we're going to do a class name of this. Usually I just stick with class name. I don't really see the difference in assigning a class name or ID unless you're dealing with something that refers directly to something else. Like if you're putting a label, then you need to have an ID for whatever you're labeling. But besides that, you don't typically need an ID. And then I'm just going to go double check my React app. Perfect. But see how, like, obviously, for my title, I specified that I wanted the mono font and that I wanted it large. And because this is not a header, this is a p tag, it does not have the same CSS applied to it. I'm also going to delete the rest of this CSS that's here. Oops. Just because it's not super necessary for what we're doing. And my p tag is called description. And pixels. Perfect. And now something that if we're recreating this, something that you kind of need to deal with is the background. So the background right now is white, and we want to change that, obviously. So we are referring to the body, which is the way I found is the easiest way to do that is body. And we want background color. And we want, I think it was hashtag, sorry, not hashtag, but the hex code 1E, 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 which is just like going to be a gray, I believe. Perfect, yeah, so it turned it gray. And now we want, so body basically refers to the entire website, the entire web page. If I was to put the background color in my app, you'll see that we get some like bit of funky business here because the app is really only a div that surrounds the elements I've placed. So I'll just turn it red so everyone can see what I mean. It's just around the elements that I've placed. So it doesn't actually turn the rest of the blank web page the color that I want. So that's why we put that in the body. It's also very cool the way CSS works is that CSS is inherited from the parent component. So since the body is the parent of all of the other components, we know that we can define some stuff in here, like the font family, monospace, and we should be able to delete it here. Perfect, and it says the same, which is how we know that it worked, for one. And it also helps us keep our CSS like a little bit tidier when you put it, the property in the highest level that it applies to. So then we're going to go back here, and we are going to add an image. Actually, I think I added the image before up here, but image. So something that we have to do with images is images need a source. And first we need something to pass it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to find my projects directory. I'm going to find my portfolio. I'm going to find my source. And right here, I'm going to left click. I mean, you can actually, I should be doing this in the terminal, quite truthfully. This is CD. I'm just finding my portfolio. Perfect. And now I want to mkdir make directory images. Perfect. And yeah. And can you specify the class name in the .app part of the CSI? Yes, you can. Because specify the class name in the .app parts. I'm not 100% sure what you mean, but if you mean can you nest your CSS, then you definitely can. Because we know that these classes are occurring inside the app. So we can add like this. Well, you should be able to, but I also could be wrong. Anyways, I may be wrong, but I'm not sure. I'm going to come back. Whoops. How do you select the background color? Oh, perfect. The property for the background color is background color. It's always counterintuitive because I always think it's color, but it's actually background color. And then you have to make sure if you're using a hex code, you have to put the hashtag or else it won't understand what you mean. And you put that in the body so it applies to the entire web page. Or you can do it specific to a certain div. If you wanted to make sure the app was a certain color, you could specify the background color there. It's true. .app does include everything I'm putting in it. If you wanted to make sure that you're specifically referencing only the stuff in .app, I guess the proper way to do that would be .app. .title, which is basically saying, find me the .app element, the element with the class name .app. Now find me the element inside that with the class name .title. However, it's actually like a bit simpler, in my opinion, to just define them like this. Since your CSS is smart enough, CSS is not very smart, but in this case, it's smart enough to look through your divs and define like nested components. So even though my .title is not in my like top level, its CSS can still find it even though it is in .app. But it would be wrong to think of these as methods. Make sure that you're thinking of them as like, this is just describing the way that it looks, the way that your elements look. So these are just a bunch of properties that are applied to your element, your HTML element, to describe the way it looks. There is a way, yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So far, a lot of what we've done is, I was importing my image. So what you want to do now is to find an image. Actually, I never created, I did it in here, didn't I? Yeah, perfect. I don't know if I'm in the right place or not. My projects, my portfolio. I don't know why my images folder is not popping up. Oh, I know what I did. Okay. Yeah, I put it in the wrong folder. I put it here, and I really want it in my source folder. It has to be in the source folder. So make sure that you don't just CD into your project, you CD into your SRC folder. And now we want to add an image. So we go wherever. I have my image already from my old project. So I can go here. I can go to my portfolio. I'll go to my source images, and I'm just gonna copy that. And I've already edited the photo so that it's in like a circular format already. So if you're wondering how the picture is a circle, that's basically, it was like that already when I uploaded it. And you can do that with like any kind of like basic editor. Check out Figma. It's a very cool tool if you're wanting to create little graphics and stuff like that. Now I'm going to go back to projects, my portfolio, not public, source and images, and paste it. Perfect. Now it should be popping up here, images and my profile pic. Bam. That's me, in case you can't already see. So my source is, first I'm going to import profile pic from, and now we want to specify the path to get to the profile pic. Since we're in the app.js, we don't have to go very far. We can just go .images / profile pic .png. And perfect, it works. And now profile pic, it's basically, it's a variable that contains this picture. So that's going to be our source. And we can even, I believe, close a tag there and see what it looks like. So it's also giving me some cute little warnings. which is a good way before you even have to go check and see if it worked, to check if anything's wrong. So the way an image works is you have to assign it an alternate, basically something to display if the image can't be found. So in this case, I'm just going to assign empty quotation marks, which should fix the problem. And it's also complaining because I have the logo imported when I don't need it. So there we go. Now we compile successfully, and we can go and check our app. Bam! Huge, giant picture. So we can change the size of that. And where am I going? We can change the size. First, we're going to have to assign a class name. And I'm just going to call it profile pic. Save it, and we're going to go here. Spot. Profile pic. And we're going to set a max width of, I don't know how big I want it, 250 pixels. Perfect. Beautiful. For some reason also, I love it, but it's already centering my text. It's from right here, .app, text align center, which is awesome because that's how I want it to look anyways. But currently, the thing that's wrong is the color of the text. So I'm going to have to change that in the CSS as well. And I think actually I'll set it up here. Font. Is there font color? No, it's not font color. I think it might just be background. No, it's not background color. Let me just check what that is. It's awful. There's so many CSS properties, and they're not named intuitively at all. So don't be ashamed if you ever have to Google it and look. I fully could Google it and look, but I know that I have it already in here. So I'm just going to quickly look. It's in my app. Color, just color. Awesome. So now we're going to open folder. Back to projects. Back to my portfolio. Back to source. Back to images. No, not images. Where am I going? What am I doing? Source. Select folder. And I'm going to go into, you can either add it to body or you can add it to .app. There we go. And it didn't work because I didn't save, I'm hoping. Nope, I did save. Cool. I think we have to add it to body. I'm not sure why it's not. I do think I said this before. CSS can really be a pain. Oh, okay, because I switched projects, my NPM start did not work. It got canceled, like it automatically cancels it whenever you exit out of this workspace. So I just have to start my server again. And this time I can start it on 300 because there's nothing else running. And there we go. Now the font is white, which is perfect. That's exactly how we wanted it. So we're going to go back here to the app. And the next thing that we're working with is the little icons that will take you to different places. So the icons are kind of the first place that we're actually dealing with like something that's going to be a bit more specifically React, as opposed to something that's a bit more generic web development. So we're going to add a new folder, and we're going to call it components. And in components, we're going to add another folder, and we're going to call it my icon. Okay, I don't know why I did that. I see. Just because there's only my icon there, it's only letting me do that. I don't know. Anyways, we're just going to ignore that. My icon.js. And here we go. So the very first line we need to write is import React. We need capital React from lowercase React. That's perfect. Without that, it won't compile at all. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put const. We're basically defining a constant in JavaScript, which is going to refer to a function. It's a bit tricky, but it's just usually the way apps are defined. We can also follow the similar pattern as here. That might be a bit more straightforward for this. I'm used to using arrow functions, but I think if I can, I will just use that. And we have to rename it to my icon. And we want to close our curly brackets so we don't get yelled at. And then we want to add our return statement. So we need to know what we're going to return for our icon. Basically, the way that I did these icons on my React app that's finished was I used an icon from Font Awesome. So we're going to have to go through all the ways we are going to do that, which was not super fun, but I just followed the tutorial online. And then after that, it kind of becomes habit because you do it so often, because I feel Font Awesome apps or Font Awesome icons are really kind of the way to go. They pretty much have everything that you could really ask for. And then we also included an A, which is an A tag that lets you go to a certain place using ref link. Oh boy. I wish you could have two of these folders open at the same time. It would really simplify my life, since I have an awful memory for these components. Oh my gosh, I did not want to do that. While I'm doing this, is anyone stuck? Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone, something's not working right? Something doesn't look like they wanted to? No? That's great. So far, everything we've done, like I said, has been pretty standard web development. And now we're moving into a bit more React development, which I will get to if I can remember how to do an A tag. href, okay. So we're gonna go to back to projects, back to my portfolio, back to source, and we're gonna open that. Okay. So like always, we want to add a class name. Although it's not going to be super useful because there's not much CSS that goes into an A tag. Class name is going to be icon link. And then we are going to add our href, which is going to be a link to the website that we want to go to. So the very first one that we're going to do is probably LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Everyone's going to have a little peek at my LinkedIn feed. It's fine. Nothing to hide. And I'm going to go to view profile. This is where you get your LinkedIn link in case anyone needed a tutorial on how to do that. And now we're going to go back here and we're going to go, there we go. This is where I want my A to bring me. And we're going to close that. And in between the closing A tag, we have to add something that the computer can see, that the browser can see to attach the A tag to, so that it it basically, we need somewhere that we can click so that it can take us to this link. So how we're going to do that is the very first thing that I think we're going to do is just add, no, we'll just go right for the font awesome stuff, I think. So next we're going to do is run npm install. And this is actually very useful because this is going to be how to install an external library so that you can use it in your npm, not npm, you can use it in your React application. So we want npm install. And I'm just going to bear with me while I Google using the code fort awesome icons import statement. You know what? Forget this. I'm doing it again. I'm going back to my other folder. I wonder if I could open. No, I don't know. I don't think there's a way. Maybe there is. I just don't know it. Portfolio, source, and source. And we're going to open it. So these are our icons. This is how we add font awesome. If you ever need to add font awesome, this is how to do it. I'm just going to put those right there, just so I can copy paste this all together. This is all the things you need to add font awesome. And then this is going to be the icon that we need. The thing we need to include an icon. And now we're going to go to File, Open Folder, and then switch back.
Sorry, could you paste that in the chat as well?
Sure, I would love that. Happy to.
Thank you.
No problem. Projects, my portfolio, source. And it's because I have not saved this. So now I'm going to save that and do it all again. Projects, my portfolio, source. Awesome. There we are.
Kitty, do you mind showing your code?
Sure. The link, what do you mean? Oh, right here? Yeah, this won't show up until we have something that A stands for anchor. So the anchor basically takes you to another website, but it needs something on the page to attach to. So we need to add, you can test by adding a profile picture image in there that the anchor can attach to is one way of doing it. But right now we're just trying to figure out font awesome so we can add little icons in there for it to anchor to. And we go here and perfect. And now we have to run the codes. npm install. And then this here. See that? then we'll just do that for us so that we can use these things. Perfect. And we want to do the other one as well, so we can use icons from both libraries. Oops, I skipped so much of it.
A separate.
No problem. Yeah, so it's npm install, and then you copy this line from up here, and you copy this line from down here. So you just have to run it twice, and it will just install the apps. Not the apps, the like little icons, like access to the icons. And step before is here, which is opening projects, portfolio. Nope. Portfolio again, source, components, my icon. I think if I do this, yes, God bless. It's going to save my life. Okay, so now we use this here. Actually, we need to take this line and we need to do the same thing that we just did, which is npm install this line. So I'm going to post this again for you guys. Is that after he ran npm install with that command?
Yeah, it is. Are we supposed to install in the source folder or into the node modules folder?
You can usually run it from wherever. So your terminal here just opens you up into your source folder, and it's fine to npm install from stuff from here. So a bit strange with that. Try It's actually not a typo because you know what? We can also forget this font awesome stuff. It is useful to be able to use external libraries, but like sometimes it's a bit of a headache. It was really a headache for me getting it set up. And what you can actually do is just install not install, but you can just include an image of the logo you want. So you can just go and you can find LinkedIn logo. And I can just click whichever one I want to use. Try and find one with a transparent background, or it might look a little cheesy. And I can save image as. And we're going to go to the place we want to save it to, which is here, projects, my portfolio, LinkedIn, goes in the source, images, and linkedin.png. And we're going to do the same thing here, which is going to be import LinkedIn from. And our path is going to be different now since we're in the components folder. We're going to have to back out of the components folder. And then we're going to have to back out again to the source folder. And we're going to have to go down to images. And we have to find the path, which is LinkedIn. And I don't know if I capitalized it or not. So I have to go, actually, no, I don't have to look there. I can just look here. LinkedIn with the capital I. .png. And now we can just include an image called with the class name LinkedIn, which is going to have a source equal to and we can just close our image. And like I said before, we are going to have to add an alt because that's going to make you add an alt, and we'll just leave it blank again. So now we're going to go to our website. And it did not pop up. Oh, I know it didn't pop up because we did not ever include my icon in the main thing. So we're going to have to go here and we're going to click, we're going to type export default my icon. I'm going to save it again and we're going to go here. So the app is what's rendered to the screen. So if you don't include something here, it's not going to get included. I'm going to go my icon. I'm going to save that here. Should we render? Oh, and I did it again, everybody. Wow, so smart. NPM start. And it's going to run again. Library is not defined. My icon is not defined. This is fine. We know how to fix this. We're just going to go here. We're not using font awesome anymore, so we can delete that. We can delete this as well. And as for the my icon, we just have to do import my icon from components / my icon.js. Failed to compile. Oh my gosh. I hate when it does this. Okay, my path is not correct. So, oh, I know. I did my icon.js. Confusing. There we go. Library is not defined. Not using the library. Why? Okay. I'll go back here. Not using a library anywhere, so that's strange. Oh, and there we go. Beautiful. Our huge LinkedIn logo. And we can click it, and it will take us to LinkedIn. So for this to work, you would just need to find the picture and the right color that you want. If you're having trouble with that, there's a lot of different places you can find. You can change the picture, like I was mentioning before. If you guys want to check out Figma, it's a really cool free design tool, and it'll let you do something like this pretty easily. So we obviously don't want it that big, so we're going to go into our CSS, and we're going to do .LinkedIn, and we're going to do max width again. Max width of probably only like 50 pixels. And I probably, oh, right. Okay, this is what I was saying before. So now we can delete that because it's not like that. Now we go here and we're creating another file called myicon.css. And we're going to put that in there. And now we go to my icon in the components, and we're going to use import path, which is dot my icon .css. And now we're going to go back here, and it is still giant. I think we'll go back here. We'll look here. Nope, we're looking here. Last name LinkedIn. I did not use a capital I. Use a lowercase I. And now it will be the right size. Perfect. And so basically we're running the end of the time. This is not how I wanted my life to go, but that's how it happened. If you guys want, I'll keep presenting because I do have a lot more to present. Or we can just open it up for questions if anyone has any questions about anything. Or anyone that wants to know how to do something specific, I can go over that. Like if you want to take a look at this, let me know what you like, what you don't like about it, and I can tell you how to work on it. Otherwise, we can go over really quickly how to post your website when it's done. I'll just give a 30 little seconds. Okay. So we'll just really quickly go over how to post the website. So the very first thing we need to do when we're posting our website is use Git. I don't know if anyone here has used Git before. It can be a bit scary if you don't know what you're doing, but you can just type the command that I tell you to command and it should be fine. So my project is already initialized. I think just because I have Git installed, it Create React app will automatically create a thing with Git, create a Git repository. If you don't have this little master popping up, what you can do is git init, which is typed like this, git init, and that will initialize a Git repository in your current directory. You want to be in the root folder of your directory, so you want to be in my portfolio or my app. And then what we're going to do is go to our GitHub account. You guys can keep my GitHub as well. It's pretty empty, unfortunately. This is my portfolio, which I posted 7 hours ago. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new repository. I'm going to call this one my portfolio. My portfolio. And then we are going to go like create repository. So we want to push an existing repository from the command line. So we're going to do this command here, which is git remote add origin. And then it's going to be a specific URL that corresponds to your GitHub. So is anyone doing this with me or no? Because if you are, then I'll wait for you. If not, if you just want to watch me do it, that's totally fine. I can do that. Okay, I'll just keep doing it. So that's the command that I'm going to use, and I'm going to go to my git bash, and I'm going to run that command. Perfect. And now I'm going to ignore the rest of what they said, and I'm going to do git add, git commit, -m, posting repo, and I'm going to do git push. And I'm going to do what they asked me to do, which is git push -- set upstream origin master. Beautiful, it worked. So this by itself, now my repository is online here. But this by itself will not create a post your website. So what I have to do for that to work is go into my at the backup a folder, open folder, and I'm going to click on projects and click on my portfolio. I'm going to open it right from there. So not just the source folder, everything. And I'm going to go to my package.json. And, oh, okay, I'm in the wrong one. But as you can see, what you have to do is add this line here. So this is my one that's already completed. It's already posted. So I have to add this line. And I'm going to have to add these lines here as well. So let me just open file. My portfolio, source. Nope, my portfolio, not source. Package.json, open. And I'm going to go here. And I'm going to put homepage, this. However, this one is not called portfolio. This one is called my portfolio. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to add these two lines here under the script.
Sorry, Katie, could you copy and paste those lines into the chat?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
And so basically, up here, your homepage is going to have to be your GitHub username, .github.io, and it's going to be / the name of your repository that you created on GitHub. So whatever you named it on GitHub, you have to name it right there. And then what we're going to do is, again, I'm still in my portfolio, so I'm going to do git add, which is adds everything, git commit, -m, and I'm going to put ready to deploy. Git push. Perfect. And now I can go here and check it out and refresh. But as you can see, it didn't really do anything much. So what I have to do is actually npm deploy. Deploy. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Let me just. No, it should be deploy.
Katie, apparently you wrote deploy DELPLOY, apparently.
Oh. God bless. Okay, wait, where did, in the script? Or when I spelt it?
I don't know, someone wrote that in the chat.
I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I think it might not be NPM. Hang on one second. Oh, okay, this is the code, the line I'm missing. And I'll post this here as well. So we have to run this first. And now it will work after this. I'm sure of it. And we actually might even need to run npm install because we changed our install. It's not correct. Npm install. Since we did change our dependencies, it doesn't hurt. And now we will try npm. Boy. Still no. That's fine. npm run deploy. That's okay. That was close. Oh my gosh. At least it is recognizing that what I'm trying to do this time. So yeah. This is related to npm not being able to find my file. Oh my God, I'm in the wrong directory. Kill me. Just kidding. Open folder. My portfolio. Source. I think it's working this time now. Thank God. Yeah, that's because I have to run. I apologize to everybody. Technical difficulties, but I feel like this is an accurate representation of me actually when I was building this website. So and I spelled that wrong. Okay, now it should have worked, and I'll go here and I'll refresh. So now instead of one branch, I have 2 branches, and I can just switch branches to my GitHub Pages branch. And I can go down here, click on Environments, and click on View Deployment. And there we go. That's my little thing that I created. So that's how you deploy. I'm going to put the steps again, probably in like the slides and then post them, just because that was a really messy deployment. So deploys in the description of the source code. Awesome.
Wait a second. What was the environments in GitHub again? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So you're back here and you're on your master branch. And if everything deployed properly, you should now have 2 branches. So you just switch to GH Pages branch. And you scroll down on the side here. It should say Environments, GitHub Pages. You just click on GitHub Pages and you click on View Deployment. And it'll be posted to this link.
And if we don't have environments, then we're going to do some more troubleshooting then, I guess.
Do you have the branch?
Yeah, I have the second branch. I just don't have an environment.
So try just going to opening a browser and typing in your version of this, like whatever's typed in on your home page, and just try typing that in and see if it takes you anywhere.
No, it doesn't take me to a GitHub site. It's a 404. I'll do some troubleshooting though. Thank you, Katie.
Okay. No problem. But yeah, so oh yay! Somebody deployed it. That's awesome. But yeah, anyways, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through this, but I feel like it's a little look inside my mind. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. But yeah, this is a little look inside my last like 4 days, me doing this. But yeah, I'm gonna post the link to my GitHub, and I'll post the slides for anyone who wants to check it out and keep looking. Like I said, you're welcome to apply to this category. We will pick one of the winners to win $100. And basically, you can fully copy my website if you want to. You probably won't win, but you can like mess around with the CSS, mess around with the HTML a bit, or you can kind of look at what I've done and take parts of it and make it your own. I was hoping to get into a little bit more about using Bootstrap, but I think basically the heart of React, at least in my source code of my finished project, is definitely there. React is very simple. If it seems really simple, it's just because it is. It's like very nice. You don't even have to. You honestly could totally not even use components if you didn't want to. You could put it all in the app, and I still think it would be simpler in my head at least than some other web development frameworks. So if anyone has any questions at all, I literally don't mind. I'll pair program with you and we can just go through it and like work on it. Just let me know. But yeah, that's the end of everything I have prepared. And unless anyone wants me to keep going over my workshop or my website. Oh, I took the chat. Yes, you are allowed to use templates, although like try your best to make it your own, but you can definitely use templates. You can definitely, that's a huge part of front-end development. It's kind of, most front-end development is not creating something completely brand new. It's taking different parts from different places. So if you want to use components from other places, you can check out Material UI, or you can check out Bootstrap. Both have really cool ways. The cards feature, like the way I displayed my projects, is it's just lines of code that I copied directly from a Bootstrap the Bootstrap tabs, and then I just use the Bootstrap CSS file to like display them. So if you want to use templates for submission, if you want to use external components and external libraries, go for it. That's definitely part of it.
Could you explain how to implement the LinkedIn logo again?
Sure, yeah. The one in the original website or the one that I did just now?
In the original.
Okay. So in the original website, I'm just going to open that portfolio instead, and I'm going to go through it. So in this one, instead of using an image, I used a font awesome icon. Basically, the font awesome icons are just an image library of SVG images. So whenever everything installs properly and you have some kind of like magical miracle where nothing goes wrong, you should be able to install the necessary libraries, and you should be able to use these import statements. And you should be able to use npm install with this command and with this command, as well as with this command over here. And when that goes perfectly and it works, you're able to import this component here, which is called a font awesome icon. And the font awesome icon, you essentially pass it a library, which is here. I called these my libraries. So if you wanted to, this component is abstracted a bit so that I can pass in a different link and a different library and a different icon name. And I can reuse the component. But if you didn't want to do that, then your library would just look like fab. Because these are the two libraries, fab and far, that I'm using. So for the LinkedIn one, it would be fab, and the icon name would just be LinkedIn. And the link is just the link of the LinkedIn page. An interesting thing about React is that you can't pass links directly from component to component. You have to use this command, which is useRef, which creates an object that contains the link, so that I think it's just dangerous to pass links. Sometimes browsers get confused, I guess. So you have to pass an object containing the link as opposed to just passing the link. So you use the command useRef, which safely converts your link into an object. So then I basically passed my reference to this link, but if I wanted to use my link directly, that's totally fine. I can do Control copy, and I can go to my icon, and I can go here, click Control V. And this works just as well. It passes none of this in. However, this one would be better named as my LinkedIn icon, since the reference of where it's going to go is always going to be the LinkedIn page. And the icon that it retrieves is always going to be LinkedIn icon. So if we go to my website, no, actually my website won't be updated, but if I run npm start, you can see that it's all LinkedIn icons, and like every single one will take me to the LinkedIn page. Since instead of creating an abstract component using my icon, I just hard-coded the LinkedIn features in. So what I did in general, though, was I passed an object, which any object you pass from component to component is called a props object. I passed in a link, and I passed in a library, and I passed in a icon name. And then here I did, and you can check in my app.js. Anytime I called my icon, I passed in my reference as the link. I passed in my library that I wanted to use, and I passed in my icon name that I wanted to retrieve. So these are my links up here, and I named them all like so that I could find them down here. And then I just created my thing, my icon, so that I could reuse it for several different things. So if I wanted to do another one, and I wanted to do my icon, Facebook. No, I have to pass a link. This is going to be a Facebook one, so. Facebook ref. And my library is going to be Fab again, because the Fab is the brand logo library. So it's going to be Fab. I'm going to go here and icon name. And it's going to be Facebook. So I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to make sure that everything is back how it was before. And then the last thing I'm going to do is create a Facebook ref, which I use by defining const. Facebook.com. And now we should be able to go here. And you can see a little Facebook icon. We should click it. And now we're at Facebook. This is my Facebook. Peep my Facebook. So this is my old one. Again. And again. Oh, where did it go? Did I shut it down? Okay, that's weird. So yeah, like I was saying before, now I have the little Facebook icon, and I can go to my Facebook account. So that's basically one of the benefits of creating components where you can abstract. Yes, I can send my GitHub link. And I'm going to go here and click on my little GitHub icon, and it's going to take me to my GitHub. So that is my GitHub, and everything, the finished product is under portfolio. So you can have a look at that. And I'm going to be uploading slides, but I'm going to tweak them a little bit just to add a bit more detail, especially on the deployment. And I'm also going to link the tutorial that I personally followed to do it. It's pretty simple when everything works properly, which I think, like, in general, that's always how it goes. As well, something that I wanted to go over was how to use React developer tools. I kind of missed it, didn't have a lot of time, but really quickly, React developer tools are something that's really cool. So you just do Control-Shift-I, and it's going to open up your console. And if you install React developer tools correctly, you should see the components and the profiler. So you can click on the components, and you can click on this little icon there, which will let you select anything from your website. So I can click on this, and there it's taking me to the image. And it shows me the props for the image, which are alt, class name, and the source, where I'm getting the image from. So you can also do that for down here with my little icon. So if I click the Font Awesome icon, it shows me all my icon is fab, LinkedIn. The size, 2 times. And the same with this, if I click this, anonymous, for some reason it's called anonymous, is my icon component, which is why I passed in icon name LinkedIn, the library of fab, and the link, which, as you can see, is an object which contains a value at the current level. So this is super useful if you're debugging, and for some reason your props is not being passed correctly, then you can use that. You can also use this, which is not React specific, but in general, your element. If you're trying to debug your CSS and trying to figure out why something doesn't look right, you can click on this to select an element to inspect it. And you can click on this, for example, and it pops up your HTML hierarchy. And you can even go here in the browser and you can mess around with some stuff. Background color, blue. And there we go, see? And it changes it automatically, but it will only change it for the session. You have to add it to your actual code for it to stay. Otherwise, when you reload, it will just reload back to how it was programmed in the directory. But yeah, that's it. That's really all I have. This didn't go as smoothly as planned, but I really appreciate every single person who stuck it out. But yeah, if anyone has any more questions, let me know.